What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of We Shoot Sports, a podcast all about sports photography. Today, I am joined by Erin Mizelle, one of the photographers and videographers for North Carolina A&T University. Let's get into it. What up?
Hello. How are you? Good.
How are you doing?
Good. Chilling, same old. How are you?
Good. Doing pretty well.
Good.
How's the quarantine?
Same old. Let me get my hair straight. It's not bad, and I'm trying to enjoy the downtime of it.
Yeah.
While we have some downtime, but it's I'm back outdoor.
Yeah. Awesome.
How's it going?
What'd you just pop open, though?
Yeah. Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, that's the jam.
Right.
I'm on Coke Zero ever since I had the baby. I love Dr. Pepper, but I like him off of, it's Coke Zero's better than Diet Dr. Pepper for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I like Coke Zero, too. I do, too. I've always been on Dr. Pepper, but I like the Coke Zero, and I just bought some Pepsi Cherry Zero or something, so we're going to see.
Oh, do you know what? That is a diet soda I will drink.
Oh, yeah?
Cherry Pepsi.
Yeah.
I haven't had the Zero, but the diet one's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm
Wild
curious.
Cherry.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, let's try this. So I'm curious.
Was it easy for you to get in?
Yeah, came right to
just
it.
The link?
Yeah, just the link and came right into it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so first question, always got to ask, where did you pick up your first camera? Like, what made you start photography?
Oh, man. My first time really picking up a camera, I took a class at Randolph Community College. It was a once a week, a 2-hour course with Ashley Fettner, who is a National Geographic photographer. He had shot for the president's photographer some time back, and it was just an introductory class that was enough to be like, that's how you do it. And so, I wanted to know more about it, and I never really had any experience before. I just took this 2-hour class, and it was enough to spark an interest that was like, man, I want to find out a little bit more. And then I ended up going to Randolph Community College and enrolling in their photography program.
Was that like like one of those continuing ed classes, or was it like a semester-long class that you took to start out with?
It was like an 8-week course, something along those lines. And it was just, you would kind of go in and he would teach, the basics, the very, very simple. I don't even think we got into manual, that kind of thing. It was just really him, kind of showing you what photography is and kind of going through some of his stuff. But it was enough that, he took us towards the end. He took us on a field trip, and I remember thinking, I wanted him to just show me just exactly what you do with the camera. And I didn't understand light, and I didn't understand the fundamentals, and so it was like, I wanted more out of it. And so I ended up enrolling at RCC just on I like photography. I was in between jobs, in between gigs, and thought I could go back to school. That'd be fun. And then lo and behold.
Yeah.
There it was.
So for some reason, I always thought you were like the J school here at Carolina student.
I did go. So I went to Carolina first. I graduated from the J school, but I was in the advertising track.
Oh, so interesting.
Yes. And so I had nothing to do with photography at Carolina. Didn't even think about being a photographer. I had no interest. I appreciated imagery and, liked, maybe taking a picture here and there on just a regular camera, but it never crossed my mind, photography at Carolina. But with the advertising, it was kind of along the same track, learning, showing people, kind of how to see. But yeah, never had anything to do with photography at Carolina. Then, so I graduated in 2007, and I didn't start
from Carolina.
Correct, from Carolina. Okay. I didn't start photography until, it was 2013. So that was, it was quite a while in between. And then went back to RCC, which is a 2-year program, and went through their program, which is one of the most renowned in the country. And so I had no intentions on being a photographer. It found me more so than I found it.
Yeah. For those of you, this is just for listener purposes, but the J School is a journalism school at UNC. I'd say by far and away one of the best in the country. So, yeah, that's crazy. I had no idea. So let's go down this path then. So you finish up at RCC, and then what's next after that?
Well, so at RCC, I went the photojournalism track, and I remember specifically, we had our first assignment with sports, and it was like our introduction to sports, and our first assignment was basketball. And you could shoot JV basketball. It had to be at least JV level basketball, so it could be JV varsity or higher if you could get into something. And I remember thinking, I would like to shoot a game. And so I knew a coach, Andre Gray, was a good friend of mine, and he was on the staff at Winston-Salem State. So, sent him a random message like, hey, I'm in photography school, would like to come take pictures, and went to that first game, and that was it. And I ended up, so my second year at RCC, I ended up shooting primarily at Winston-Salem State, learning how to shoot, learning how to see. I interned with the Chronicle in Winston-Salem. So I spent a lot of time over there.
And now you're at A&T.
A&T, right.
So how'd you get there?
Well, so while I was at Winston-Salem State, I met who is now a good friend of mine, Tali Carr. And he told me about a kid at A&T who could do a backflip and catch a ball in each hand as he did a backflip.
Oh, yeah.
Tariq Cohen. So, I said, oh,
Bears.
Man. Yeah.
I'm a huge Bears fan. So.
Yeah. So he told me about Tariq, and I was like, man, I want to see this. So that same day we had met for lunch, and he made a phone call for me, and lo and behold, got me in to go, shoot that practice that afternoon, just to go. And it just so happened to be around the time that A&T had some people who had just left, like the week or two before. So I came at the right time, where there might be an opening position in the media department. And, I just started coming around. I just started coming around more and more, shooting and, kind of showing the way that I shoot and what I could bring to the table. And a couple months later, they brought me on part-time for a little bit. And then about a year or so later, we made that into a full-time position. So I shoot for all 17 teams at A&T now.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
I only cover at Carolina. I cover basketball, football, and a lot of wrestling.
Right.
And some baseball. I can't imagine 17 sports. That's just
especially during, crossover season, when things start all running together. I mean, there are times when it's just like, what day is it? Where am I going? Who's playing? You have to kind of keep it. But I mean, it's, that's the best part of it. It keeps you busy for sure.
So you're doing photography and film there?
Yeah, so I do video and photography.
And photography there?
At A&T, yeah. I'm lucky enough at A&T that Kevin Dorsey is another photographer. He's my partner in crime at A&T. So for the home games and the games that are locally, Kevin will be there, and he covers the stills, and so that allows me to do video. But a lot of times when I travel on the road, I am the only one that goes with the team. So it's a balance between, doing some stills, some video, kind of trying to get a little bit of both and figure out, kind of what's best at the time. Since I've been there, I'm finishing up this will be going into 4 years coming up at A&T, and A&T's won a lot since I've been there.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. So, it's been a learning situation when you're the only photographer. Do you do stills? Do you do video? So kind of trying to figure that out, but you get through it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I got it now.
Okay.
Canon or Nikon, or maybe you've moved on to something else now.
Nikon.
Where you at with that?
Nikon. Yeah.
Nikon, and why Nikon?
Well, that was the first camera my parents bought me, was a Nikon, the D3200. So Kind of
how it happens, right?
It is. It very much so is. Once you pick one, you stick with it, and
Yeah. I'm amazed when I hear people like, "Oh yeah, I started shooting like Sony, so I got rid of all my Canon gear," and I'm like, "What?"
I know. I hear that all the time. It's like, yeah. So I've been
Nikon the whole
Nikon all the way through. Yeah.
Nice. Speaking of gear, if you've never checked out Lens Rentals, you really should. I've used their products and services multiple times over the years, and I can honestly say that I've never had a bad experience with them. If there's ever been any gear that you wanted to try out, now is the opportunity. Visit the link in this episode's description and head over to Lens Rentals now.
And I just went to I just bought recently the mirrorless. So I'm learning the Z6.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm playing around with it a little, and it's different, but it's a great camera. But
I shoot Canon, so I don't know, but I tested out a Canon a couple weekends ago for it was the R5. No, the R. The R5 just came out, and like I think it's pretty awesome. However, I've heard that the frame rate is not very high. So for continuous speeding or for continuous shooting, it's it's only probably about I think 8 shots.
Oh yeah.
Or something like that, which seems really slow compared to like my 1DX.
Yeah.
So how is that? How's the frame rate on that? Have you shot any sports with it, or did you just pick it up after all this?
I got it right before we went to New Mexico for nationals for indoor nationals, and that ended up being canceled, so we didn't. That didn't happen. So I had intended on that being the first time that I really, shot with it. But I mean, it's frame rate. It's I think it's around 10. So it's up there.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and I need to, I rely, my D5 is my primary body, which is, 12 to 14 frames a second. And, I'm just.
That's exactly, yes.
Yeah. And so I'm so used to it, you don't have to think about it yet. You just shoot. And so the transition to the Z6 has been, I haven't devoted enough time to it yet to feel comfortable enough for it to be, my main body but it's the little bit that I have shot with it. It's a beautiful.
Have you done any film with it yet?
I have not.
That was the thing that was crazy about the Canon mirrorless is how well, just like, there's a bunch of autofocus features that are just insane.
That's what, yeah.
And so filming with it was just like incredible.
Right.
But that's exciting. I'm excited for you to test it out and see. I think that's the way it's going.
It really is.
I think like so much I'm like, oh, but it's this limitation because it's not 12 to 14. But I think like, I'm not having to load film into this camera, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, I'm sure we'll figure it out, even if it.
And it's really nice the size of it, especially in traveling with the team and trying to document the travel, the flight, all of these things where carrying a big camera is not conducive to what you're doing. So having a smaller camera, the mirrorless is, it's great in that realm.
Mm-hmm. Let's walk through, like, for you as a team photographer, videographer, what that day looks like. Like, if you wake up in the morning, the day of a track meet, what's that look like for you?
It's a typical day if they're hosted at A&T, let's say. And A&T has one of the fastest tracks in the country, FYI. But so getting there, if it's, depending on if it's the MEAC championships, that's an all-day, multiple day event. Track days, when you have, nationals is one thing because you have a much smaller group. You may have 5, 10 student athletes competing over a couple of days. But if it's like the MEAC championship, for example, it's everybody competing, and it's nonstop from, let's say if they start at 11 o'clock, you're there, probably a good 2 hours before, making sure everything's good to go, and you got, your right mind space, and you're not, rushed, and, because a lot of photography, I think is when you get to a certain point, it's mental, you know the fundamentals, what you need to do. So being in a good headspace and relaxed, and you can, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
So showing up, a couple hours early and making sure you have all, your cards cleared and your batteries charged and your laptop up and ready, to import quickly and to get something out quickly. And then from pretty much once the first event starts, it goes nonstop all day long. And so, and it's tricky. And luckily, like I said earlier, I have Kevin, who is, my right hand. I don't know what I would do without him, but
it's Shutter Kev.
Yeah, shout out. But he and I, we were able to kind of tag team. So, if you're having multiple events going on at one time, so your head is constantly on a swivel. You're looking for, it's easy on the days where A&T wears gold because, you can quickly say, oh, we've got one over there, we've got one over here. But it's all these events that are going on at the same time. And so you have to, figure out, like, for example, if it's a long jump, they have 3 flights where they'll jump 3 different times, but it's over, let's say, an hour. So you have to constantly, be watching or you'll miss it. And so, it's a lot of moving. It's a busy day. You don't really sit down. You might eat lunch. You might not, you always, keep a snack or 2 here and there. But it's one of those days where, it's a really long day, but it goes by really quickly when you're in it because it goes back to back to back to back. And it's one of those things. And it's the reactions from track are my favorite. When they cross the finish line and you're right there at the finish line. One of my favorite images is of, again, Kayla White at indoors when after she won and the embrace with her and Coach Ross, being able to put yourself in that situation to get close and to get right up to them, immediately as it's happening, is one of those. It's the best part of, I think, of shooting sports, is capturing those moments, because to me, let's say for basketball, for example, every photographer at Carolina is a professional photographer. Everybody sitting on that baseline is a professional photographer and can capture the action properly, but it's capturing those little moments in between, the little moments that tell the story, the moments behind the scenes where people don't get to see that. They don't get to see the hours in the summer that they put in, the sweat and the tears, so being able to show those things. Everybody gets to see the Friday night bright lights and the winning and the championships, but to be able to see the grind that goes into it, the weeks and the months before, that's a big part of it too, I think. And then to show, hey, this is how far they've come, and now, look what they've just accomplished, and that emotion, that expression. Yeah. That's my favorite.
And that's something that you get strictly, I think, as a team photographer.
Yes.
I've noticed that with wrestling. So with UNC wrestling, like I am,
yes, like
in the room with them watching, and it's crazy. I have so much more respect for wrestlers now. I think it's like one of the hardest sports that I've ever.
Absolutely.
That's just because I'm day in and day out seeing what they're going through.
Yes. And the relationship they build as a team photographer, they trust you, and they allow you to come into their space. And Kevin and I are very much so protective of that because of the relationship that we have, and we respect the boundaries. And, we would never, if the coaches, if there's something that they don't, particularly want covered, like we respect that to the utmost, and they know that we respect that, and we're showing everything in the best light. And so it's cultivating those relationships as a team photographer is, I think, what separates obviously from just a freelance photographer. It's that access to those little moments that not everybody gets to see, and so showing those, it makes people buy into it more. If you know their story, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. So knowing their story, knowing their trials and their tribulations, and the things that go in and day out that make these championship teams, I feel like that's what I'm here to show.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you talked about Headspace a little bit, and I haven't thought about that much, but you are 100% right when you say that.
Yes.
What do you do to kind of get yourself in the right headspace? Let's say like you showed up and somebody cut you off right before you get there, and you're like pissed.
Yes.
Like, what do you do in that situation? Like,
yes. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So for me, it's, just breathe, because, and especially, let's go back to track again, the moment before this race happens, my heart is pounding as well, so it's taking a second to, to just, okay, breathe, like, you know what you can do, your ability, you're good enough. Everything else, just let it go. Just look and see what you see. So like, just for me, it's really taking a deep breath, and, I don't really want to talk to a whole lot of people. I don't really want the whole chit chat. It's being able to just take a second and to think, to think things through, and, all the outside, everything else, it's fun to meet people and to have these, conversations as you go to the events and everything. But when it's time to work, it's time to shoot. And it's, a photographer needs a clear headspace. And so, to be able to just have a second and just, get your thoughts together and make sure you're ready to go, and then just go.
Yeah, for sure. I hadn't thought about that too much, but like, if you look at the way an athlete prepares for a game or a match or whatever it is, an event, like, they have to get there early. They have to get all warm, ready to go, in the right mindset, listen to music, that kind of thing. I do, even I make a point before a game that, like, I really will do a couple test shots. Like, I may spend, if I'm there 2-3 hours early, I may spend 15-20 minutes on the sideline while they're warming up, just warming myself up. So, absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Okay. So pivot a little bit. How did you get in? So I know you do some, like, camps, or
I do.
I want to say I saw something one time with, like, you were out in California doing something. Was it Stance Socks? I have no idea. Like, I just know you're like a jet setter. So,
and that's my favorite part. As I was getting into photography, a photographer once told me that if you work really hard, photography can take you anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And that just stuck with me, because the goal of this whole photography thing is to be good enough at what I'm doing to see the world doing it. So, I guess it would have been 2 or 3 summers ago, I had a colleague give me a call and said, hey, I have he's a videographer, and the shoot that he was going to needed a photographer, and went to Salem. At the time, I didn't really know what was going on. He just called and said, they're looking for a photographer. Are you available? And it was kind of one of those situations where it's like, I might be, like, what is it? And it was for Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. So went and shot that morning, and Chris was going around to, it was Go Hoop Day. So it was going around to 4 different locations in Winston where Chris grew up playing, and all of that. But lo and behold, Chris's photographer was there, who was also Dwayne Wade's photographer.
Oh, wow.
Bob Metellus. So he was there and met Bob, and Bob asked me to show, he said, let me see one picture that you've taken today that you think I would like. So a little bit nervous, and I show him my favorite image of the morning of Chris. And he said, all right. He said, you got it. He said, I don't need to see anymore. He said, you can see. So from then on, a little bit later that afternoon, he asked me if I would be interested in coming to California later in the summer to shoot Dwayne's first invitational in California, where he would bring 15, give or take, other NBA players and bring them in to a location in California. And it would be a situation where they would train in the morning. Then in the afternoon, they would kind of have like a financial, kind of presentation, learn how to deal with your money. Dwayne basically walked them through his process of, how he got these endorsements and all of these other things, and, how to be careful with your money and invest properly and all of these things. So it's a week-long camp that Dwayne puts on every year now. And it's my favorite week of the year. It's
all those sports you cover. Favorite week of the year. I love that. I was going to ask you what your favorite event is, but I think I know now. So.
That's it. I love nationals with A&T, but there's a pressure that comes with that. It's you get to enjoy it, but it's intense. It's nationals. It's a huge deal, and it's and it's over very quickly, and it's just a rigorous couple of days. But stance is, I mean, it's California. It's literally, and I'm a Carolina girl, so it was really my first time spending any time in San Clemente, California at the stance headquarters. And it was, just the whole, it's a Cali vibe, and, just to be able to shoot and to shoot creatively, and to, Bob has allowed me the freedom to, just shoot what I see, and he trusts that. And there's no, there's a little bit of a checklist of certain things that, I need to make sure that I get covered, but just to have the freedom to move around and show this week, and to show the connection between the players. And so again, it's still sports, it's basketball. And basketball was my first sport that I shot collegiately. Well, even
you went to Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I've never shot a basketball game in Carolina.
You haven't?
No, I've shot 2 football games.
That was football.
Yeah,
I saw you at this year.
I shot A&T at Carolina, 3 or 4 years ago, whenever that was, when Tariq Cohen was there. And then the second was against Appalachian State when I saw you last year. That was my second time in Carolina. So it's very much
around and pregnant.
Yes, you were pregnant. Yeah. And it was hot. Yeah.
Miserable. One of the worst games I've ever shot in my life.
It was so hot. Now that I think about it, I remember sitting on the turf thinking, sweat dripping down my eyes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They had those rags on the side that you could go and grab. I was like, I had them everywhere, all over my body. I was dying.
Yes, if I get to shoot Carolina basketball, that is bucket list for sure.
All right, we're gonna have to see if we can make that happen. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, my heart is beating now. that is bucket list for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. One day we'll have to talk. This is all about you. One day we'll have to talk about how that kind of fell into my lap.
Oh, yeah. I would love to hear that.
All right, let's see here. Okay, let's pivot. So let's talk about being a woman in sports for a minute. I don't know. I feel like sometimes this is a conversation that not you, but just in general, do I want to have this as a woman? So feel free to say, I don't want to answer that.
No, I love it. For it to be a male-driven industry, I love it.
Yeah. I know. Seriously, I don't know why, too. I got into sports a little bit later, kind of like you did, and I was like, why did I wait so long to think that I could be a part of this?
Right.
So, so in terms of your team, it sounds like you and Kevin have a great relationship, and you were able to just kind of slide in there. Have you ever had any obstacles as a woman, maybe not at A&T, but just in general, in sports photography?
I don't really, nothing sticks out to me. I remember early on thinking, as I walked in, I can remember the guy photographers, they almost kind of look at you kind of like, here's this girl, what
you doing here?
Yeah, and I remember thinking, okay, all right, I could kind of feel that. And I took that, maybe I did take that personally, and it was, for me, like I said, in a male-driven industry, I think there's a certain touch that a woman brings to the game. And, I think it's just the way that we, I don't know if it's seeing things a little differently, or, evoking the emotion in our images.
Yeah.
But as a woman, and, even shooting a lot of events, you are a lot of times the only woman in the room. And I take great pride in that. I find great pride in that. And, I'm willing to put my images up against, any man that I come across. So to be able to find the confidence in that,
let's go.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. I love to hear that boldness. It just, yeah. And I haven't thought about that much yet, but I'm always told oh, your images, they really focus on the emotion and that kind of thing. And sometimes I think are you trying to say they don't focus on the action, or what are you trying to say here? But
right.
I do feel like I have the ability to kind of see
Tell the
things, or
story.
like that nurture from a coach to a player and that kind of thing that maybe a guy would just be like, that's not worth taking a picture of.
Right.
So,
too.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna wrap it up here. So 2 more questions. So number 1, just advice for anybody getting into sports photography in general. So just anybody.
Shoot a lot and shoot some more. And, as I was beginning my journey into sports, like I said, at RCC, Jay Capers is the photojournalism instructor there, and he's phenomenal. There's nothing that I have come across since leaving RCC that I don't feel fully prepared for. And I, credit that to him. And in shooting sports, I think it's the more that you learn how to see everything around you, the clearer that you can see when you're at sporting event. So again, it's not what you see, but it's how you see it. So being able to, pull in, if you can shoot things outside of sports, I think it makes you a better sports photographer.
Yeah. Because
you understand, again, everybody's shooting the action. Everybody's getting the ball coming off the bat. Everybody's getting the dunk. Everybody's going to have that. But what can separate you from everybody else? And for me as a photojournalist, it's that storytelling capacity. It's, can you look at my image and in a moment understand what I'm trying to say without saying anything? Because if you can't look at my image and understand what I'm trying to say if I have to explain it to you, I've not done my job.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I think being able to shoot any kind of event and tell the story helps you translate into sports. So you don't have to go start and shoot at Carolina. You don't have to go start and shoot at Duke, because it's not going to happen.
And most people are not going to be able to do that, like you just said. So
not at all. So if you want to get into sports, you have to find a way in. Like most organizations, you can't just show up and say, I've got my camera, can I come, sit on the baseline? It doesn't happen. So you have to take those steps, to get to an accredited organization, to get the credential to come sit on the sideline. And if that means, shooting whatever for a newspaper, and then every now and then being able to get to shoot a game or whatever the sporting event is, just kind of finding your niche and sticking to it. And, again, just learning how to see, it's amazing that, people, you can't teach somebody how to see, but you can, once you learn what you're trying to show, that just, it just opens up so many doors. And, like
that's a great way to put it.
Right. Like the photographer told me, photography, if you work really hard at it, it can take you all over this world. And I'm a living testimony to that. I've been to, my goal is to see the world. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see behind me the map, these are places through, and photography has taken me to these places. And, it's just, I feel lucky every day to be able to do what I do. And it wasn't an overnight, I shot my first year I shot at Winston-Salem State for free. I drove every day to Winston, 45 minutes each way for free. I shot for free, Winston-Salem, they never paid me a dime, and they didn't have to. I just wanted the opportunity to build my skill set, to figure this thing out. And lo and behold, if you stay the course, it worked out. And I can't imagine my life without it.
Yeah. That's so awesome. All right. Take it a step further.
Yeah.
Specifically women who want to do sports photography. What would you say to them as advice? I'm sure a lot of it is very similar.
Sure.
But specifically, like if there was any piece of advice that you would give them.
I would say make as many connections as you can. And in that, I mean, when you go to these assignments, these events, whatever it is, you never know who's going to be there, and I mean that to say, you never know if somebody knows somebody who can get you in somewhere, or if somebody has a story that maybe you need to hear yourself personally, or if somebody has a story that you can help tell. A lot of the ways that I got into a door was because of a somewhat of a friendship that I had built with somebody. I had taken the time to have a conversation with somebody, to be friendly to somebody, to be kind. And it worked out that it allowed me these opportunities because somebody said, hey, I remember Erin, she's a photographer and she was nice. And, let me refer her to this. And so it was just through a lot of the opportunities that I had were through word of mouth. And it was just, the photography world is an incredibly small world. And, the way that you treat people is huge. The way that you handle yourself is huge. The way that you go about getting indoors, you don't try to, sneak your way in. You go through the proper channels to get where you need to go. And then when you get there, work your tail off, you shoot and shoot and shoot some more and find somebody. I was lucky enough early on. Jerry Wolford became a mentor to me while I was at RCC. And so to find somebody who will tell you, nope, it's not it. Like, I've seen better from you. To have that, solid voice of, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? To have that. And then to go out the next day, that's major for me was, there'll be days where you don't shoot that well. You don't walk away with something where you're just, excited about it. But the key is, can you go back the next day and do it again? Can you find those moments, keep going back and finding the joy in it. And that's, and for me also, it's the reaction from people when they see your images, when you see what it means to them and their response to it, take that and hold on to that, because you are capturing these pure moments that are, just, they mean so much to the people that you're capturing, and to take that and to just build on it and, remain humble. And,
You're just killing it with the advice here. Like, you're just killing it. Good stuff.
We love it. We love, and we have the life that we have, where we love what we do. I mean, how many people get to say that? It's the joy in it. And I feel lucky to do what I do every day. And so, if you have an interest in photography, just expound upon it and see where it can take you, because you never know. I never expected to be here, and I thank God that he brought me to it. And like I said, I can't imagine a world without it.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. All right. You were awesome.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Being on.
You're welcome. This is fun.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram, that's the main place that I go, but it's Erin_Mizelle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go Heels.
Yeah. I can't say that.
I know. Well, and Aggie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you for having me on.
Stay safe. I hope that
I really do.
I hope you can get back to it soon. I'm dying over here.
Yeah, me too. It's time.
I'm ready to get back to sports.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, I have like this baby. I'm like, dang it, I'm conflicted here. Do I go and potentially bring something home if I haven't already, or but I'm dying to get back to sports.
I know, me too. It'll make it that much better when we get back.
I know.
Yeah.
Refound like rejuvenation here. So
yes, right. For sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, take it easy. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode of We Shoot Sports. I hope you guys were able to get as much out of that as I was from Erin. Holy cow, just thinking about your mindset as you're going into photography is a game changer. As always, if you have anybody that you want to see featured on the show, please reach out to me at We Shoot Sports on Instagram. All right, take it easy. We'll see you guys on the next one.